Hello everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, writer, boards, recorder of videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Thursday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DM, only a live stream crafting Icewind Dale, which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Rime of the Frostmaiden. If you are playing characters of Robin, Ray, Celeste, Edmund, or Thimbleweed, this session is not meant for you. I will see you all tomorrow, but for the rest of you, welcome. You note there will be many spoilers. Stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday evening. Watch all of our D&D live series as well as reviews on my YouTube channel and read weekly session recaps at roguewatson.com. Follow me on Twitter at roguewatson and join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/roguewatson. Shout out to new patron James. Thank you for your support. For our campaign, we use Roll20.net for streaming. I use Open Broadcaster software with Streamlabs. Good morning, Nathan. So, we need to talk more about Chapter 4 of The Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which involves the dragon taking off towards 10 towns and destroying pretty much most of 10 towns. Too bad for the players. I think, I mulled it over a couple days, and I think the reward for the players, at least, for splitting the party and actively trying to slow the dragon down, and basically being pretty successful in that regard, I think I'm just going to let them get a long rest with no questions asked. Like, there's no, penalty. There's no, oh, you got to, have exhaustion because you're chasing after it or anything like that. Let's just say for whatever time displaced magic benefit I can give them, I think it's fair to just give them a long rest. I mean, they definitely need one. And then probably at the end of the long rest, that's when we'll have one of the, Dwerger knock on their... I'm literally letting them even long rest in Sunblight if they want to go outside of their... But I think Sunblight, that way they can get the full long rest experience. And that way, the Dwerger can knock on the door towards the end of the long rest and be like, hey, that dragon just broke out. You need to chase after it. Because that still lets me destroy 10 towns, because of the speed at which the dragon can fly is obviously a lot faster than how the players can chase after it. So that's my current plan. In fact, if we actually look at the notes for Destruction's Light, back to my time, and it takes, I'm just following some pretty simple travel rules. I'm not doing the horrendous travel that is actually present in the book because I think it's too slow, and I've already talked about how I really don't want to do a big, arduous crawling along the, even though, Tundra should be difficult, but whatever, you can just throw an encounter in there if you need to. And I don't plan on using any encounters because I think 10 Towns itself will suddenly become a treasure trove of encounters. So it's going to take the dragon a mere 2 hours just to reach Dugan's Hole. And then it only takes 30 minutes for it to just completely destroy Dugan's Hole. And then, or no, sorry, that's 30 hours to get to Dugan's Hole. I think it actually does only take it 30 minutes, though. Yeah, so 30 minutes it destroys Dugan's Hole. And then it takes another 30 minutes to reach Goodmead, where it actually stays there for an hour and a half. So I think time-wise, the players, let's go back. If I can show you. I added some mushrooms to Celeste's character, which is pretty funny. I guess I could add, the players might get the Lost Spire quest too if they think to do that before they leave, in terms of Edmund checking that note, which is, it served its purpose in terms of gating the players from unlocking that content too early. I didn't want them to do it in Act 1, and right now the dragon represents the end of Act 1, so it's perfect timing there. They can, at this point, they can unlock it at any time and go to the Lost Spire and do it, and that doesn't mess up my story or anything. So I think, oops, that's the wrong one. I'm gonna add another one of these. There we go. We're just gonna say let's see, Ardarox, Garland Dragon is still active, programmed to destroy 10 towns. Just kind of put a note in there like, hey, this is kind of an active quest you guys have. Can't this. There we go. All right, so Official quest, I guess. Alright, so if we look at the actual map, again, it only takes the dragon. So I'm going to let them long rest in Sunblight, no problem. Fully long rest, we're going to level up, which is going to take some time, level up to 6. Assuming Rochelle doesn't want to roll up a new character, I'm just going to let her level up as well, even though she doesn't have access to any of her abilities while she's a plant zombie. She literally only has that Spore Servant template, which I should probably do that because she's probably not going to do that if I don't. In terms of, I should probably just duplicate her sheet and actually, might not be a bad idea to do right now actually, and turn her into a Spore Servant. What's the best way to do that? Just duplicate sheet exactly, and then we can actually do the template thing. Maybe I'll do that. I also, if you notice, took the liberty of organizing, since the party has actually acquired several NPCs, something I did in our Tomb of Annihilation campaign, which I haven't done yet. In this campaign is actually keep track of all the NPCs that are with the party, and right now we're getting to be quite a few, so I've added them as a kind of a drop-down menu under party, which is any NPCs that are traveling with the party, and you know, technically could be used as allies in a fight, although I think generally my party is unless they're like short on people or something, they're pretty good about just leaving people behind and not having those people involved in a fight. I know at the very least, Kapunuk would be, you know, thrilled to join in as a party NPC, and you know, party member could control him or not. Valin maybe a little bit more reticent, but could be convinced, and she's actually a pretty decently powerful spellcaster. Spellix and Ballista would probably not want to be involved in those in any kind of battles, but all right. So let's take, let's close this creatures. There we go. Copy of Celeste. And we're gonna add that right here, and I need to look up these Spore Servant rules again. And call this one the Celeste Spore Servant. Spore Servant was not edited and controlled by Frey. I think I forget to change all those. Although Chris actually took advantage of, I think, being able to see through Heather's eyes so he could see the throne room stuff happening. But I should clean that stuff up just so I remember. That off. Weird to hear you at normal speed. I'm working my way through the crafting annihilation vids at 2 times. That's funny. I've slowed way down. I haven't done that before, but I've heard that's a pretty effective tool for a lot of folks, is doing it a little slightly higher speed, because obviously I'm doing all of this, you know, live, so I'm not editing anything. This is my normal speaking voice. My ums, my ahs, my pauses, my thought processes. But I'm glad you can catch live. That's fun. Alright, so let's look at, let's see. I think I can actually pull it up on, or can I pull it up on Roll20? Or Servant, because then I can use that as an aid. Oh, there we go. Spore Servant template. It's right there. Sweet. Spore Servant template. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn her into a Spore Servant. So this is a copy of her sheet, so I can fuck with it and not be worried about it. So armor class, hit points, hits, dice. Oh, you know, the shitty thing about me doing this though is she's about to level up. So anything she does, I guess I can make her do it to both sheets. Oh man, this is that's awkward. Because if she levels up on her sheet, then I've got the other one that's still level 5. Well, maybe it's still worth doing. Let's see. She becomes a plant. I guess it's your race becomes plant. Lost characteristics. You basically lose all the shit that makes you you. Fully heals, and at least she'll be back at 45. You still have your hit points and things. More death saves. Let's see. Assuming you rest and all that. I guess it'd just be a note of add this spore. Can I add a Spore Servant template in here, or is that gonna fuck it up? See what this does. Ooh. You sure you want to turn this character into a Spore Servant template? Well, that's probably gonna really jack things up. See what it does though. Yeah, that doesn't work. It literally just turns it. Okay. That's not gonna work. I don't think there's an undo here. Oh, well. Let's delete this. I was hoping it would be really clever about it. Alas, not clever enough. I'm not sure. I mean, I might have to wait until she levels up anyway. The main thing is you get really crappy mental stats, and you only have blind sight out to 30 feet. You have no normal vision or senses, and you basically lose free will. You're a zombie. I mentioned that she's basically controlled by Valravn. I kind of just allowed ownership to be transferred. Let's try this again, shall we? Now, interestingly, it loses special traits, so I guess it would lose all of its. Oops, shoot! How do I go back? It says it loses special traits, so does she even lose her ability to do better strikes with her monk fists? Otherwise, I mean, the thing is they can still wield weapons, but, you know, monks don't normally wield. Oh, I guess she has a mop, so she would still wield the mop. You're smart enough to wield weapons, but not smart enough to have any other thoughts or anything. Alright, so you are a plant. What else am I going to do? Unaligned. I can't change the alignment on here. Oh, because I can do it right there. Unaligned. Plants have no... Oh, your speed is reduced by 50. That puts her down to 40. Still super fast. Alright, so ability score is the big thing that changes. Intelligence becomes a 2. Your wisdom becomes a 6, which is real bad for a monk. Real bad for spellcast in general. And your charisma becomes a 1. Really tear apart your mental saves. And then you have blind sight. Where is the vision on this character sheet? How long has it been since I had it? Like, it hasn't been that long since I had to deal with a character. Just in a campaign. I guess it's just blind sight just written on the side. How do you do blind sight in the character sheets? Do it on here. Like dark vision's a thing. Maybe I can add blind sight in here. Sight. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Whoops. Why can I not grab this? Not letting me grab it? Oh, I guess I can't grab it. Okay. Fine. You have condition immunities. I think that's all I'll do for now. Using language. Just add the whole thing about Spore Servant. Spore Servant. Source is other. It's kind of an other. I feel like I should just copy and paste this. There we go. At least the information is there. That's the important thing. Spore Servant. Okay. So we can figure it out from there. I don't want to dwell too much on it. Alright, moving on. So the dragon's going to take 2 hours, whereas for the players, I think we mentioned it's going to take them a couple. I think it's going to take 6 hours for them to get there. If they travel 3 miles an hour from Sunblight, I wonder if it's quicker to go on the left side or the right side. Figure that out, because they're going to figure that out. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 hours that way. 1, 2, 3, 4. Same difference. 6. So it's going to take them 6 hours. So if the dragon leaves the same time they do, you know what I may do for... I could even have them still have the dragon trapped, still clawing its way out, have them leave to go towards Dugan Hole, and the dragon they could just see the dragon flying overhead and just fucking like a fighter jet compared to them at that speed. And they still, I mean, the Dugan's Hole is still destroyed by the time. I mean, it literally takes the player 6 hours to reach the Dugan's Hole. The dragon only takes 2 hours, and then it takes 30 minutes to destroy Dugan's Hole. There's so many jokes. And then another half hour to reach Goodmead, so now we're at 3 hours. An hour and a half to destroy Goodmead. We're at 4.5 hours. And then it goes to East Haven. So honestly, by the time they reach, if I have the dragon leave at the same time the players do, by the time they reach Dugan's Hole, the dragon's arriving at East Haven. So I can already prep for having, which I think is good, because I want them to be able to see that destruction at first, have to deal with the fallout, and then, assuming they want to make a beeline towards East Haven, then they can finally have that initial confrontation with the dragon as an actual active war zone. So with Dugan's Hole and Goodmead, we can kind of have here's the post dragon devastation, and you actually have to deal with the fact that it destroyed these towns and the aftermath of that. And then once you get to East Haven, you can deal with it in a present tense and actually have an active ongoing threat once they reach East Haven. That's of course assuming they follow the dragon's path, which I think they would initially. Then it gets, I really hope they go to East Haven. Then it gets interesting, because do they decide to continue to try and chase after the dragon, in which case they'll never be able to catch up with it, because it's going to take them. The interesting thing is that the dragon can just fly over the frozen Loch Denashire here and reach Caer Dineval in only an hour. Now, it does stay at East Haven for, I think, 6 or 8 hours? 8 hours. So, I mean, I guess technically they could leave while the dragon's still destroying East Haven. I doubt they would. They would probably help stay. Although the dragon would have been there for a couple hours by the time they reach East Haven for sure, because it's going to take the players, it's going to take them an hour, a little over an hour to reach Goodmead. And then, assuming they're in Goodmead a little bit, dealing with the complications that I've introduced, it's going to take them another 2.5 hours to reach East Haven. So probably the timing will be when they reach East Haven, the dragon will be towards the end of its destructive reign in East Haven, which again, I think the timing will work well for that, because the players will just be in pure survival, helping out, with the different complication events I've created. And then the dragon will leave, and then the players will have to choose, do we continue chasing the dragon and just trying to clean up the mess, or do we go to Bryn Shander knowing the dragon's path and try to basically just help prepare the defenses at Bryn Shander? Hopefully I can have an in-between session there so I can plan depending on because I want to let the players make the choice, but I need to be able to, that's a big deal for me to prep. Do I have to prep all these other towns or not? What I would like to do is in East Haven have them deal with Ravison again, but not in a context of we have to fight Ravison, but actually she's, even though she's an Auralite, she's still trying to protect her city against this threat and actually like trying to summon Aural's power. And maybe Ravison gets horribly injured or drained of her power or something to where she has to then like give the players a task to say, hey, if you, Bryn Shander is the best place that we have to make a final stand. Take this MacGuffin and you can use it to summon, an avatar of Aural to try to take this dragon down. And that way, instead of Ravison doing the thing, the players then get a chance to do the thing. And that also motivates them to go to Bryn Shander rather than going to all these other little towns. So I think that's the way we're going to break up this entire chapter, is basically, again, it assumes, but you always have to kind of assume a little bit when you're prepping for D&D. It assumes the players go to Dugan's Hole first and then follow the general path up the road through Goodmead. So I need to prep those two. And then they go to East Haven. They finally catch up to the dragon in East Haven, but it becomes more of a survival thing and really probably never a traditional combat encounter with the actual dragon, because it even mentions at East Haven it never fucking lands. So if it never lands, it's just fucking doing strafing runs at 120 feet in the air, blasting down with that radiant beam, just destroying everything. Now I can still have things on the ground, and there's a cool thing where there's like Dwerger sleeper agents that are being activated, and still, crises the players can deal with. So there's still shit they can do, which is why the dragon's more of an environmental hazard than an actual combat encounter. Versus in Bryn Shander, when they summon the Aural avatar, then they can ground the dragon and actually have a cool big boss fight. How big old is the dragon? Well, the it's not a real dragon. That's the thing. It's a construct that has been built to destroy 10 towns. Stat-wise, I'm not actually sure. I think it's close to an adult, if I had to guess. Let's actually look at the Charlatan Dragon, since I keep talking about it. I haven't actually done the comparison of it. AC of 17, 147 hit points. Its attack is a plus 11. It's a CR 11, so that's no fucking joke. If I had to guess, I would say it's probably close to an adult dragon. Look at an adult dragon. Oh my gosh, there's so much information. Yeah, so adult dragon is pretty damn close. It's got fewer hit points and fewer armor class, but offensively, it's pretty damn close to an adult dragon. It also has a unique presence that instead of frightful presence, it actually like charms people around it to go insane and attack each other, which is awesome, but it can't do it in the air. It only works when it's on the ground attacking. So I thought that'd be a cool like challenge to add to the players in one of the towns, like in East Haven when they attack it, but unless I change it, nobody's actually affected by Malevolent Presence unless it gets within 30 feet of them, which it's only going to do that if it's actually going to land. But otherwise, it's a really cool effect. DC 16 Wisdom save, and a creature has to spend its turn moving and attacking the nearest other creature, and it just is an ongoing effect until you make the save. Pretty gnarly. The dragon does have some good defenses. Basically, the players, I think, all have mostly magical stuff except for Thimbleweed, which means he's due to get some kind of magical equipment. But it's got damage resistance to all those, immunities, condition immunities, just because it's a construct. And yeah, I can give it more. I mean, it's going to have as many hit points as it needs, but that's my plan. So, you know, we're going to spend some time next session leveling up. We're going to get everybody to level 6 and divvying out all the magic items they got. They got a huge payout from Sunblight. And then they get a chance to long rest. Unless I think of something differently, I'm okay with just even waiting on having the dragon not leave until the players do. And it just depends on what the time. I think it might be more exciting to have, you know, somebody knock on their door and be like, "Hey, that dragon's just about, you know, clawed its way out. You guys need to go," or something. Or maybe have it already go and like you guys got to chase after it, and maybe just nobody's aware of how fast this thing is. Or have it still trapped, the players leave, head towards Dugan's Hole, thinking, okay, we can, you know, meet it there and head it off the pass and save this town, and then all of a sudden, at some point on the way, the dragon just flies overhead way faster than they can ever catch up, and they realize, oh shit, we can't catch up to this thing, and then by the time they reach Dugan, which they've never been to Dugan's Hole, they don't know anything about it. It turns out it's a really podunk small town. There's no defenses, no walls, not really any militia, so this town just gets completely destroyed very quickly. So my idea, and you know, what I want to do with this chapter is expand to make actual like events and things happen. So it's not just seeing the devastation. So my idea is to have Dugan's Hole be a undead combat encounter. We have not fought a single undead in this entire campaign, and that's just unacceptable. We fought a lot of undead in the last campaign, and I'm pleased we haven't hit that yet at all here, but I think this is a good opportunity to essentially have the party show up thinking, okay, we can, you know, help this town or deal with it or something, and it turns out the entire town has just been completely demolished. All that's left is just burned, charred bodies, buildings destroyed. But what if the players, you know, see this, witness this, and then all of a sudden angry, vengeful spirits start popping up and maybe even start yelling at the players for, you know, not saving them, you were too late, all this kind of cool shit, and then they have to fight a bunch of, you know, fucking ghosts. So to do that, I have, and yes, you can make jokes, but I called the map Destroyed Hole because it's Dugan's Hole. This is the map that I'm using, and also, we have not had a full party combat encounter in like 2 sessions because of the way the party split up, so this will be a fun chance for everybody to, you know, have a combat encounter, and really their first combat encounter of level 6. And you all can help me decide what, you know, kind of creatures I want to use and all that, but I kind of want to go towards the angle of using ghostly undead versus just zombies. I think it's more impactful to use the ghosts, and that adds to the horror element versus a bunch of just shambling zombies. I don't know. I feel like the ghosts you could explain better as just being angry, vengeful spirits who were murdered by this dragon versus a bunch of zombies. You're like, wait, is there a necromancer around? You know, I don't know why I make that distinction, but I feel like thematically, the ghosts work a little bit better. By the way, this map is from the Roll20 Marketplace. My favorite artist, Gabriel Picard, and this is from the map pack Village to Pillaged City. I will paste that in here, and hopefully I'll remember to do that in the show notes. But that is from the Roll20 Marketplace, and it's really good, just selection of town maps. This one unfortunately has, just grass, so I kind of cropped it so you can't really see. And yes, I know Dugantoll is supposed to be a really teeny tiny town with not really big buildings, but I couldn't really, the players don't know that, so that's just what I view. I don't have a map of Dugantoll on here, but it's very, very small. I'm making it so, okay, maybe it's not quite that small, but still, it should be big enough to have a little bit of a main square area here, and we'll say the players can, hopefully end up disembarking and trying to go through and look for, survivors or something. Hello, Jason, Fireworks Factory, good morning. So, my initial thought process is to make it more interesting. The player's level 6 right now, so they can handle some shit, and they are fully rested. So one thing I want to do is kind of treat this whole chapter as one, adventure, basically. So one long rest sequence. And so I need to start thinking of it as a dungeon crawl and basically start, trying to drain those resources. Now, the weird thing is, the players are, if they want, they could get some long rests here. Also, this could be an interesting situation where, if you're going more than 24 hours without a rest, you're supposed to actually accrue exhaustion, and that's something that could play into the timing here, because the dragon is a fucking Terminator. It does not sleep, it does not rest, it does not stop, it just keeps going. So that's something the players have to factor in. It's like, oh shit, we need to long rest at some point in one of these, half-destroyed towns, but meanwhile, the dragon's going to keep doing its thing. So it'll be an interesting option, or something the players will have to factor in, and I'll convey that is like, hey, you guys can absolutely rest. There's nothing to stop you from resting in these towns, and still getting a long rest, but the dragon's not going to stop. So if you want to push yourselves, you can push yourselves. Now, total, I think I calculated it's going to be about 40 hours or something that this dragon's going to be actively from the moment it leaves Sunblight to when it arrives in Bryn Shander. So that, presents opportunities for a long rest if the players want that, or they can just, move on to Bryn, which if they're going to move on to Bryn Shander anyway, that would allow them a long rest before a final encounter, and I would just let that happen. That's fine. But if not, then they could, potentially push themselves. Running a post-dragon attack in a different campaign. Oh, nice. Yeah. I love this artist, and I pretty much like all of their map packs. I find them very useful, especially the generic ones that, we end up using all the time, which are like villages, caves, forests, roads, just all that stuff, to where you can just plop those maps in there, because that's really what we need most of the time. Yes, it's really nice to get those bespoke, custom, cool, unique location maps, but more often than not, you just need the kind of generic ones to be able to throw in there and fill things out. So I've got actual, some bodies on the ground, some charred bodies, like I'm Bob Ross right now. And then, here's our little spec. So my thought process was, okay, I want to use Ghostly Undead. I think that's going to work well in terms of, these are just vengeful townsfolk out to, have revenge on the marshals who didn't save them for, whatever reason. And there's not going to be any social stuff here. It's just, these are angry ghosts. And now that, the party's level 6, they're fully rested. Why not throw a Wraith as like maybe it's even the speaker, which has been raised up, and she points an accusing finger and has this, speech about how you shouldn't have done that. And then a bunch of specters kind of spawn in. And to make it a little bit more dynamic, maybe if the party doesn't immediately rush to the Wraith, because it has the ability to raise bodies as specters. So you've got a mini boss who can actually create minions, essentially. Now, unfortunately, that is its action, but that's still a pretty good use of its action to just spawn in a CR, I think a CR1, but specters are pretty strong. Specters are deceptively strong. Very low armor class, not very many hit points, but their attack does 3d6 and has a chance to reduce your max hit points. So you get a lot of those suckers on there. Those are deceptively powerful if you're hitting with them. I mean, it's only a +4. And normally sunlight sensitivity, but Rime with Frostmaiden, no sunlight right now. Everything's just dark. So a chance to use all of these creatures that normally would only find, in dungeons because of that. So I like the idea of having a Wraith as kind of a mini boss, and then it's going around. It's going to initially, spawn some specters, and I would love to hear from all of you about how many I should use initially. We're going to have our full party. Reese Michelle on vacation next week, not this week, so we still have our full complement of player characters, and they're fully rested. So how many should I have initially, and then how many, and then obviously the Wraith, unless the party just immediately bum rushes the Wraith and surrounds it, then it's going to try to raise people. The other cool thing is, by the way, ghosts can move through walls as incorporeal movement, and I'm going to try to craft this map so perhaps these ghosts can do these hit and run. Now, unfortunately, you're still taking attacks of opportunity, but at least the Wraith could maybe disappear inside of a building, off screen on its action, spawn a Spectre, and then the Spectre spawns in as a new combatant. So we can try to draw the map dynamic lighting and make that happen. I did actually use Bodax in our last campaign, Tomb of Annihilation. They had I don't remember them being very memorable, but they are very, very creepy. I like that really creepy where you take a human face and you elongate the jaw into that screaming mouth thing. They use that on the Mummy does that, and I guess it's the actual Ghostface scream mask. That's always a really creepy way of distorting the human body. All right, so let's make some dynamic lighting here, which I just went ahead and kept the roofs. Maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I should have open buildings in case the players actually go inside these buildings, because the way the dynamic lighting works, they're not actually going to see the roof part, so I don't know. Oh, please tell me I kept this one open. Right. Oh, that's because I searched body. Let's get rid of body. Premium assets, marketplace. Damn it, it's not open again. All right, what was it called? It was called Village to Pillage. Village to Pillage. Is it on here? Tile, VILL, 2 L's in Village. I know that. Village to Pillage. And yes, I do. I work with Roll20, so I have access to all of their things, which comes in handy. Village City. Before we get too far, let's look in here. So, I apologize if my overlay kind of covers some of this up. Wait, which one was I using? Not that one. Should have gone for the roof, because there's roof ones and there's roofless. Roofless. It's not quite that one. Block 7. Oh shoot, that's the end of them. Maybe it was block 7. No, I don't think so, because it's got there's a little one there. Yeah, because there's an L-shaped one there. That's the one. Block 5. Answer is block 5. Oh, I guess that was. Is this the roof one? I guess it's not the roof one. Okay, I guess it's the right one then. Yeah, because that's the open one. Okay, that's fine then. We'll keep that. It just looks destroyed. So let's block this out. Which some of this is destroyed and open. Keep that the way it is. Oops. Need a line. Come on, give me a line. Now we add dynamic lighting to our maps. Line. Lines, the lines. Make this one big thing here. What's the purpose of the encounters? We're supposed to be able to fight a dragon. This spooky encounter shouldn't be too difficult. Well, hopefully it's not too. I mean, we can talk about the balance for sure. That's why we're here. um, so as I mentioned earlier, this whole chapter I'm going to kind of turn into a one long rest adventure, but with the caveat that actually they could long rest in between because the dragons reign of destruction, I think I calculated out to be about 40 hours it's going to take to actually meticulously go through every town and destroy them all, and then end up in Bryn Shander. So that right there should give the players enough time to long rest. If they wanted to push themselves, they could and go without long resting, just to try to, maybe minimize the. Maybe they do want to follow the dragon around, try to minimize the damage and things. In which case, I would have to come up with a lot more events and things for them to do. But yeah, they're fully rested. I'm just trying to throw encounters at them. This is going to be probably the only one that's actually a full-on combat encounter. I may include until they reach the dragon, with the exception that maybe when they get to East Haven and maybe in Bryn Shander, I'll use those Dwerger sleeper agents, but I'm not even sure if those will ever be a straight up combat encounter. It might be like, you arrive and there's a bunch of things happening and maybe, cinematically you can take out some Dwerger or something. But mostly it's going to be them like skill checks and them saving people or helping refugees or doing, some of the roleplay thing. It just happens to be that the first town they arrive in, and maybe I'm setting a bad precedent by having this be the first one, presents the best opportunity to unleash a just undead fight at them, because there's basically nobody they can save in this town. This town has been absolutely destroyed. So the point of this encounter is to showcase the dragon's destruction, because the party wasn't there to help or do anything, and these guys didn't get any forewarning or nothing. They just got completely destroyed. So it's to showcase the destruction, which they'll also get that at Goodmead, but Goodmead, they'll be able to actually rescue people. So the attack took the dragon longer, and it specifically mentions the dragon is programmed to not destroy the mead hall because Zardarok wanted to keep the mead hall. So a lot of the survivors can flee and try to basically hide there. It says the dragon spares the mead hall but destroys every other structure in town in 1 hour. A quarter of the population is killed. The survivors flee into the woods before veering toward the east way and following the road to Bryn Shander, taking most of their livestock with them. So that'll be the first instance of helping refugees. I'll have some events where the players can actually maybe rescue some people. Maybe there's I don't know if does the dragon's radiant breath create fire? Maybe it does. I don't know. But maybe there's a building on fire, or there's a building collapsing, and you have to run into a building and save people. Like all these things are stuff the players could do in Goodmead, and then again in East Haven. But the added effect of East Haven, I'm kind of gradually adding complications. The East Haven one, they can do the same things, but the dragon's will be actively attacking. It'll be towards the end of its attacking run in East Haven, so they'll be able to help. Maybe even help the militia in some way or do something that can actually affect the dragon. But this is going to be spread out into an ongoing, probably at least 2 or 3 or 4 sessions, which is my goal, because after this chapter, after this event, they're going to level up again. So they're basically only doing this and then essentially going to level. And I could wait, if it really took no time at all, I could wait until they do like their next thing, which could be the Dark Duchess location. It could be the Lost Spire of Netheril. I could technically wait on that, but honestly, because I'm going to kind of fast track the leveling, I want them to reach tier 3 by the end of the campaign. They kind of might be leveling up a little bit quicker in the second act than even they did in the first act, because the first act had a lot of that low level content, and you really don't want to level them too fast because they can very much out level it. Whereas here I can properly scale these events and encounters, and then maybe they'll actually level up, weirdly, a little bit faster in tier 2 than they did in tier 1. Yes, this is before the final dragon fights. This is after. So this is after the dragon has arrived here, but before they actually fight the dragon, if that makes sense. Where did you get these calculations from? My party came straight from Sunblight without a rest and couldn't get there until 2 towns had been destroyed. Well, yes, that's what is happening, Jason. By the time I did mention that I've changed the travel rules for the players. I've sped them up a lot more. They're in a wagon, and it just mentions the fact that it takes a long time for the players to travel anywhere by like dog sled or whatever was in the campaign. So I think I've sped that up. I don't actually remember where see that information from? Is that in Welcome to the North? Wilderness Survival? I forget where the Overland Travel. So yeah, even with on a dog sled, you only travel a mile an hour. I have tripled that and said, okay, if you're in a vehicle, even under the tundra, you can still travel 3 miles an hour. So I've sped them up way up. Now, even with them being sped up, it still, by my calculations, takes them 6 hours to reach Dugan's Hole from Sunblight, and it takes the dragon 2 hours. So yes, that's why they're reaching Dugan's Hole and having it be destroyed. The dragon will already have destroyed Dugan's Hole. It'll have already destroyed Goodmead. It'll basically be, I think, destroying East Haven by the time the players reach this point. So I'm assuming once they have this battle, which, combat doesn't take that long, they immediately go to Goodmead, and then they'll deal with another, crisis situation with Goodmead having been destroyed, but at least you can rescue people. And then, assuming, again, we got to assume a lot of stuff, they're going to go up to East Haven. Then by the time they reach East Haven, they will be able to catch the dragon, but the dragon will be because the dragon spends 8 hours at East Haven, but it'll be towards the end of its destruction. It'll be a, very much destroyed town, I believe. I mean, it spends 8 hours there, destroys half the town structures, including most of the docks. And they'll be able to deal with even more, an ongoing crisis. But then, of course, the dragon just, soon after that takes off towards Caer-Dineval, and then the players have to make a choice whether to, again, continue chasing the dragon or going to Bryn Shander, knowing that, all right, it's going to destroy like 8 other towns if we do this, but we can, help the refugees and build up defenses and really prepare and maybe get a long rest, after all these things we've done. But that's the, yeah, the drinking. I expect that to be a big topic for tomorrow is all of the jokes about Dugan's Hole being destroyed. Just completely fucked. So this is going to be a wall. Actually, I should not have... leave a little bit of a graphic there so they can see the proper wall. Proper wall. Rubble. So I just thought it'd be interesting to just, throw a... And, again, it's been 2 sessions since we had a full party, combat encounter. So I just thought this would be a fun opportunity to do that. That this is not, it's not like every town's going to be completely destroyed and turned into a bunch of vengeful ghosts. That's just what's happening with this town. Because it's a small town that couldn't do shit, and its people are very pissed off for whatever reason. For reasons. Drawing some dynamic lighting on the map to make it look like proper ruins. There's some holes in here. Collapsed areas. Do like this. Kind of hard to make dynamic lighting with a bunch of half-destroyed walls. There we go. Shows up okay. Look at this side. Paint the walls. Actually, won't be that effective for the specters to disappear because there's plenty of openings. Let's actually just close this one off then. So that. That. A little bit of opening over here. Now, and this building is mostly intact. A little bit of an opening up here. Go. This one, I don't usually do this on the stream because it's just not very interesting, but it's something we gotta do on Roll20. Interesting looking rubble over here. Grab a player token and see what it looks like. And all this definitely. this. We'll just. Interesting is you can take whatever map, and then depending on your dynamic lighting, that's what the actual walls and shit become. That's really up to you to easily mold a map to whatever you need it to look like. I suspect we're not going to need this much of the map, but we'll see. All right. Let's take Valravn here and see what it looks like. One per character seems reasonable to me. Does that include the Wraith or not the Wraith, though? So again, it's, you know, dark nighttime in the Rime world. That is what... Ooh, the charred bodies look especially nice. Okay. Kind of looks like we need to make more dynamic lighting there. And you fill out the walls inside there too. Be more ruiny, not just big open squares. Okay. Fill out. Let's see. This might be enough for that one, actually. And that's maybe. There we go. Some sightline changes, open things up a bit. Technically, they don't see the second level from the first one. I guess they kind of can. It's just weird how you try to do that with a. The whole problem is trying to make a top-down map with some, you know, openings and some not. Some obvious limitations there. I don't think they're gonna see the inside of this one. That's true. Celeste is nerfed. Yeah, and I'm mindful of that too. Like, you don't want to, and I don't want to throw too many, you know, combat encounters or adventures to the party. I think I'm gonna force them to have to get to Bryn Shander to actually resurrect her, because I'm just gonna say that East Haven doesn't have the means to do that, and or maybe the priest has been killed there or something. So that alone is probably what's gonna motivate. I forgot about that. That's probably gonna motivate the players, in addition to what Ravisson's gonna give them in East Haven, to go straight to Bryn Shander rather than try to chase the dragon. Excuse me. Rather than try to chase the dragon around to like Caer-Dineval, Caer Konig, and all that. If they can go straight to Bryn Shander, especially if they go before the dragon attacks, then they can go to the priest and get her properly resurrected, and then maybe she's only a spore servant for like, you know, maybe 2 sessions. I could see, you know, 1 session is tomorrow. We're gonna level up. We're gonna you know, divvy out the magic items. We're gonna travel, which I don't have any. There may be some story development I'll include, like Valin can tell her story about basically the main quest, and then and maybe, you know, Edmund gets the quest for the Lost Spire properly, and then they'll reach Dugan's Hole, have this common encounter, and that's probably going to end our session for tomorrow. And then our next week's session will probably be them, you know, moving on to Goodmead, dealing with that, moving on to East Haven, dealing with that. That's probably going to be a session. And then the third session of this chapter will probably be Bryn Shander, and maybe we'll even need another session after that to deal with the dragon. So, hopefully the first one they reach Bryn Shander, then we can resurrect Celeste. So she may only be a sports servant for like 2 sessions, assuming she doesn't want to roll a new character. Which, as far as I'm aware, I think she's okay with being a temporary sports servant, because, you know, resurrection is a thing in D&D. Like, you know, they've got the body, and the body's actually even more useful than a dead body. It's technically a plant zombie, and they've got the means. They got a huge payout from Sunblight. Some stuff is worth hundreds, if not thousands, of gold. You can give just one of those to somebody, and they'll be like, "Oh shit, yeah, you know, resurrection right away, whatever you need." Also, the party is, you know, decently ingratiated themselves to Tin Town. So in terms of their faction standing, I think they would be the NPCs would be more than willing to help them. It takes an hour to cast and comes back to 4. Oh, that's a good point. We should look at that. I don't see the the time is being an issue because unless I'm really playing it, they're playing it close. I don't see the dragon like showing up or anything while this is happening. It does take an hour. Down worth at least 500 GP. Yeah, so I think we have it in our house rules. I think does it cost 500? Does it cost more than that? Okay, 1,000. So there's an upcharge. I could even offer maybe a discount if the party wants to persuade or do something. Just lay up the fact that like, hey, we're your best chance at surviving this. You need to resurrect us, and we've done all this work for you. Then like, okay, I'll give you do it for 800 or something. But it is going to cost them hundreds of gold because there should be a penalty there. Target takes a -4 penalty to all attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. Every time the target finishes a long rest, the penalty is reduced by 1 until it disappears. So that's different than 4 levels of exhaustion or raised dead. I think that's what you do, right? You turn on a dead creature, you touch to life. Been dead no longer than 10 days, which it has not. Just turns to life with 1 hit point. Can't return an undead creature to life, but she's not undead, she's a plant. Technically, doesn't say anything about plants. I guess you could argue that they have to do like a then greater restoration or something, but I think honestly I would allow Raised Dead to probably work. It does say it cures non-magical diseases, so you could argue that the spore thing is a disease. Not like a curse. Could offer a cheaper budget druid res. Sorry, you're a gnoll now. Yeah, Celeste will level up. Assuming she wants to continue playing the character, then it makes sense to go ahead and level her up. But she will be a Spore Servant using the Spore Servant template until she does get the Raised Dead. But this is interesting. We haven't dealt with this before. That's true. You could just kill the Spore Servant. That would be the very brutal way of doing it. Spore Servant wouldn't do anything; it would just sit there. So you could have the priest could be like, well, unfortunately, it's a Spore Servant now, so you have to destroy this body, and that would be a very awkward way to handle it. They have to kill it. So, but yeah, -4 to everything basically, and then every time you finish a long rest, the penalty is reduced by 1. So essentially, you start out with a -4, and then when you have a long rest, it becomes a -3. I wonder, you'd have to track that. I guess you'd probably set it up as a like this bless. You'd set that up as a global modifier maybe, and just have it be like a minus. Just do a minus number, and every time you long rest, the penalty is reduced. That's rough. It would basically be a factor for the dragon fight. After that, the party technically has some time, so you probably get some long rests in before going on your next venture. But oof, yeah, that's a bit of a penalty. Exhaustion would be easier to track. I wonder why they didn't just use it's so weird. You'd think they would have used exhaustion because you almost never get these just the modifiers that you have to keep track of like that in 5e. I think they would have just used exhaustion. All right, good to know though. All right, so anyway, so I like the idea of having the Wraith because I think the Wraith is a pretty solid, which we can roll hit points for these guys too. Just a cool boss ghost thing, moving around the field, targeting all the dead bodies and turning them into specters. But having some initially is important because you need to, have some creatures for the players to fight. So maybe we'll start off with 4. And Celeste is a plant zombie, we'll just do 4. The other option is I could definitely have her, if she wanted to, just control the Goliath Kapuna, because he would be more than willing to join the party as a combatant if they wanted to. If she really wanted to play with somebody that wasn't a total zombie. Now he doesn't have any abilities; he's just swinging his javelin or whatever weapon he's got. I could make it exhaustion, yeah. I wonder technically what is the worst one. Look at people's exhaustion rules. Exhaustion, 4 levels of exhaustion is probably worse. 4 levels means, I don't have to use 4, I can do whatever level. Disadvantage ability checks, speed is halved, disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws, and hit point maximum halved. But the same rules would apply in terms of every time you long rest, it reduces the penalties. So that is interesting. Exhaustion can be cured by restoration spells. Interesting. Interesting. So you could pay for the complete package of the healthcare system. And say, look, can we get a restoration in there too? Because that's gonna cost you some money. That's an interesting point. They could just pay to get rid of the penalties. I mean, what is gold if not just paying for all this, right? Like, that's what it's there for. Greater restoration. You can reduce the target's exhaustion level by 1. Oof. It only reduces exhaustion by 1 with 1 casting of greater restoration. Jeez. That is brutal. That's brutal. Yeah, you could cure greater restoration. But I mean, the way I've got it set up on, like, well, I mean, the players might have that spell, but I don't think they do. Maybe somebody could take it. Can bards take that spell? I mean, if they actually had the spell, I guess, but still, it only reduces it by 1 per casting. It is a bard spell. But 5th level, I don't think they have access to 5th level spells. At 6th level. I fucking hate that that's still dumb. Didn't 4th edition solve that? I think 4th edition solved that, where they made the actual spellcasting level be the same as the fucking player level. Yeah. Generous understanders will pay for it. Maybe so. So we'll start off with, I think we'll start off with a Wraith and 4 Spectres, and then every initial turn, unless they lock it down pretty quick, the Wraith will then continue to roam around and make a few more Spectres, enough to where, you know, things get interesting. Let's roll some. Oops, are these are on the token level? Not bad. On the map level, I usually do that. I mess with things on the token level first and then put them on the map level later. You don't want to be fucking with the map level too often. Let's take these guys. Can we roll? I probably got to restart my API. Let's do that real quick. Real quick. See my hours played. Oops. Now they're disabled. There's a big cost to it, yeah. Which I think I literally upcharged it with our house rules, where it is like a penalty. See if it works now. There we go. Alright, so that rolled hit points. Let's roll for this one. There we go. There's our initial combat encounter. Back to using a 5-foot grid map, which is also enjoyable. And yeah, just a, you know, basic kind of stepping stone, but showcases a destroyed town and, you know, the fact that there's nobody to save here, unless you consider destroying their spirits and bringing them to rest, saving the citizens, which is giveaway, I guess. We have the players down here. We'll have the Wraith kind of back here. And we'll have Spectres kind of popping up out of all these buildings, which will be pretty effective. So we're going to put... You know what? I'm not even going to put them on the map yet until I do this cutscene, and then we can just have the Spectres starting here. I'm going to put one back there to kind of hide it. Put one there to kind of hide it. A little bit, take advantage of the walls. That'll be pretty cool. And then we'll go ahead and plop on here. I make her look like a plant. Plant symbol. This encounter real quick. Probably. You know, it's I think it's meant to be like super hard encounter. The players are fully rested. I think it's fun to level up, be fully rested, and jump into a combat fight. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. And, you know, let them unleash their abilities. They don't know, you know, how much they need to gauge their resources at this point, how long this whole dragon thing is going to last. But I don't think I have a problem with them wrecking the encounter too much. It's not, not every. Again, it's difficult because I'm kind of wanting to make this into a dungeon area in terms of, hey, this is your one long rest for the chapter, but I can't because they're literally going from town to town, and the dragon's going to take so many hours to destroy towns that they probably are going to get another long rest before they even confront the dragon in the end. But at least this way, I've started draining the resources for this area, and then Goodmead, which shouldn't be any combat, but is going to be a lot of skill checks and some hazards, basically traps and stuff. And then in East Haven, which will probably involve all of those things, and that will be essentially their one adventuring day for that. There you go. Blow off some steam after losing Celeste. Indeed. I'm going to put them, maybe here, give them some distance between the Wraith, and that'll be our little battle map encounter. So I think that will do it for this Thursday's Crafting Icewind Dale. If you enjoy the content, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Tiny Dancer, Christopher, Thomas, Adam, Stan, Nathan, Alex, William, I'm Loud, Al, Furcon, Kyle, Sklenia, Genocider, and James. And gold patrons RPG, Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, Marcus, Dead Lizard, Lounge, Sam, Lumpy Spuds, Jerome, Blood Angel, Vernus, Baboon, Nathan, Fast Like a Tortoise, and James. Thank you all very much for your support, and I will see you for D&D tomorrow night.